What's up, pretty gang? Good morning. It's 8:30 a.m. It's your favorite nail tech Peaches, back with another video. And today we're doing this gorgeous brown set, but I really want to talk about doing more bulbous nails. Okay, we've talked about large nails, big nails, small nails, but we have not talked about the more bulbous type of nail plates. Okay, some people have naturally bulbous nails where it is not as flat, and this is the final result. So I'm going to teach you today how to give a really nice result without them looking really thick and bumpy and all of those things. Okay, but first things first, you guys know I have a bunch of coupon codes, my Amazon storefront, all of that linked in the description below if you're ever interested in what do I use and where can you get some of it from. You guys follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to turn on notifications and subscribe. Okay, so just to show you really quickly, this is a regular of mine. She's been coming for 2 years, and she is really one of the most current clients that has this type of nail plates. This is not due to injury, it's not due to damage, it's not due to anything more than genetics. Some of her toenails do grow the same way as well. This is not the first client or the only client that I have worked on that has these, like, basically, I don't want to call them like untraditional type of nails, but you won't see these too often, and sometimes it can be hard to know what to do. So basically, when it comes to application, right, we're still gonna apply as normal, but do you see how much higher up that I am moving the acrylic? Normally it would just be where the nail and the tip meet, but I'm basically floating it higher up and thinning it out because the cuticle area is going to be a very small bead, just due to it's already kind of bulbous or, you know, bulkier up top, and we do not want to bulk it any more than it already may be. Okay, now the challenge here is going to be up there in that cuticle area. So everything that we're focusing on, that's what we're going to try and what is that called, take attention away from. Okay, nails like this, basically you're gonna want to use less product, but you're gonna have to be careful because we still want to get our color payoff and not accidentally file the color away, because it's gonna be easy to do. Okay, so the first two nails I am doing in real time, and then after that I'm gonna fast forward because, like, honestly there's no point in keep doing it in real time because it's all the same. But as you can see, look how small of a bead that I'm using versus what I normally use, and basically we're just gonna push it up there and just watch how once it's there, right, and I let it kind of set for a second, tuck it into the cuticle areas, most of the product is getting swiped away because I do not want all of that product sitting there and bulking it up. Now at first you might be a little confused because it's gonna look like the apex is really just like sitting there like humped up, but honestly there's not too much you can do about the appearance of it right now. A lot of this will be fixed during filing, but what you don't want to do is use such a large cuticle bead that it actually does make the apex area just kind of sit there and like humped up. So you can see from the side that this is what we're working with. I'm further pushing the product around, moving it around so that we can get as smooth and as nice. Okay, if you guys hear noise, he's putting on lotion. I know you hear that. Like, there's no way y'all don't hear that. So look, that's what it is. Okay, so yeah, so that's basically what we're doing. We're adjusting as needed, and you see how I'm adding a little more acrylic. It's because I can tell the color of her natural nail is going to show through. Okay, so this particular client, if you saw one of the videos of the orange acrylic toenails I did on damaged toenails, this is her. So you can see the in that video, even her toenails are also just as thick, although some of them were damaged from an incident with the car. A good amount of them were not, and so you can just see this is her natural nail growth as well as color. Okay, so once again, we are going to push that acrylic up very high because this is going to help with our color payoff so we don't file through anything and give us a little extra strength, and then the rest we're going to pat and pull down as normal. Okay, that's the part you need to know. This is the most important part. We are going to push it up very high and make sure it's very thin. You see how I keep going up there? Make sure it's very thin. You do not want any thickness up there at all. I cannot stress that enough. I will also say I use like regular tips from the nail supply, what you guys like, oh, curved tips, blah blah. I'll be honest, I don't even know how anyone's using straight tips on her, because as you can see, like, not only are her nails kind of like bulbous, but like as they get longer, and you'll see on the index finger, as they get longer, they curve over. Like, her natural nails grow downwards. So I'm like, I'm not bashing straight tips or nothing like that, but these tips work really well for her. I've seen her old pictures of her nails when she was getting straight tips, because that's, you know, that's all a lot of people use, and it was just not the most flattering look for her because it kind of went against her nail instead of growing with her nail. You see what I'm saying? So once again, we're putting a small bead in there, and as you can see, this bead ended up being a little bit too big and it was a little bit too dry, so a lot of it just kind of got stuck there. So I'm just kind of working with what I got, but you can tell the difference in how much work I'm having to do to try adjust and move around, and it's just giving a more bulbous appearance up there, as you can see, and that is not what we want, but that's what happens. So that's just, like I said, that's just what I got to work with. So if that does happen to you, just try your best to kind of like smash it down, I guess, and even out the nail, and then we'll go back later on and we'll just go ahead and fix it. So like I said, I know this is not, you don't see these type of nails very often, but they do exist and they are out there. You got to learn to work with a lot of different nail types, so that way you know how to consistently give out a certain type of quality in your work across a bunch of different types of people, no matter what. That's really the goal, you know what I'm saying? So if you can do that, then you're on the right track. Actually, if you're even willing to do that, you're on the right track, because there's a lot of people I'm noticing who say no to a lot of different things, either because they're unfamiliar or just because it does not fit the aesthetic they're going for. But I don't really feel like that's fair. I've heard people being turned down because their fingers are too big or their nails are too small, or people just, oh, you should just get a manicure instead, or you should just do dip. Like, if you're a client, please don't settle going to a nail tech that is going to service you based on what's easiest for them, because I promise you, somebody out there can do your nails. It might take you a little time to find them, but somebody out there knows how to do it, okay? And there's someone out there, maybe they don't know how, but they are willing to try, and they're in a stage to where they are wanting to grow themselves in their work and things like that, okay? So, and if you're a nail tech, just be open, just be a little more open, and just realize, hey, there's a lot more things that they might look different, but it's normal as you could ever think, okay? So once again, you guys can see I did fast forward, and we are focusing on that cuticle area, making sure, once again, we are laying the acrylic, pushing it up a little higher than we normally would to make sure we get that good color payoff, and then thinning it out up there so it's not thick, and then putting a small cuticle bead up there for strength in the apex and all of that good stuff, okay? So honestly, once you kind of get the hang of it, and everybody's technique is different, I'm sure there's someone out there that does it a little bit differently than I do. This is just the best way that I have found that works really well, right? So we're getting rid of a lot of the product by swiping it away, which is why I always recommend, when you're working with acrylic, you pat and pull to move it in place and move it around, and swiping gets rid of excess product. You see what I mean? So the way her cuticle area is as well, it's also kind of like on the deeper side, but it's also like she does not have, I don't even know. I mean, I feel like if you've been doing nails for a while, you can tell what I mean. It's, I don't know, like she doesn't grow like a lot of cuticle skin on her nail plate too much, and the way her skin grows, like her eponychium grows, it looks normal, but like when you're putting the acrylic, like also with the fact that her nails are kind of bulbous, you kind of have to like really make sure the acrylic is back there, is what I'm saying, okay? Everybody's might not be like this, but hers is, so that's why I'm mentioning it. So once again, here we go, put it on there, right? This part is the easy part. This part is the part that I don't want to say doesn't matter, but like, you got this part. This part is easy. It's, once again, it's the cuticle area that makes it a little bit differently. Now, having acrylic on and having nails on for her is gonna kind of like disguise the fact that her nails are a little more on the bulbous side. You can see how little acrylic I'm actually putting on there. And she does have, like, she doesn't typically break a lot of nails or anything like that. She has a lot of strength in her nails. As you can see, her nails are always very, very, very extremely strong. Like, it's honestly crazy. So yeah, make sure all your cuticles are tucked, then application done, okay? So the next couple clips is after the application is done. Now, filing around the cuticles is a little bit different, because I want you to watch where I'm focusing on. So of course we're going around the cuticle area, you know, keeping our e-file parallel and things like that. You don't want to based on the angle of how, you know, the nails are on and stuff, you don't want to accidentally dig in. Basically, you want to make sure, like, I bend the finger to make sure that I am safely using the file. But look at the area at where I'm filing at. We are focusing on that top area with the cuticle area, the apex area, because this is where a lot of the bulk is. Even though we did not use a lot of product, what we're doing is shaping the apex, so that way in the end it's going to take away from the bulk. Even though we did not use a lot of product, it's about placement and it's about shaping when it comes to people who have more bulbous nails, and where the bulk of the thickness of their natural nail is up in this area and it's kind of thinner towards the free edge, which is completely normal. Okay, once again, I want to point out it's completely normal. So that's what we're focusing on. So as far as filing, as you guys can see, once I use my e-file, they're already pretty sharpened up and stuff like that. But filing is pretty easy. Filing is the same. I remember when I first started working on her though, like 2 years ago when she first came to me, filing for me, it was a little more difficult. Not only was I like trying to get my shape together in general, so I was still getting used to that, but knowing how much is too much and how much is not enough, and my product placement on her. So a lot of times, sometimes the product would file off. So over time, you know, you realize you let the beads set for a second and then go ahead and work with them, because it allows the color to be there and for it to thicken up, but the product to not be too bulky, basically. And so, you know, over time your shape gets better and with application, and then you have to file less, which actually really helps. So you can see with my hand file, like as I'm doing finishing file, you guys know I use my file to do that and not my e-file. I'm still focusing on the same areas when I'm going over top to make sure they are nice and smooth. Okay, so that's where we're really focusing on, because once again we are shaping the whole shape of the nail, the whole surface of the nail. We basically want to provide this illusion as if the nails are I don't want to say normal, but like it gives the same appearance as anyone else's nails on your page. You see what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of it. Like, not to say like, oh, she wants to hide what her natural nails look like, because that's not it. She's just a person who loves getting her nails done. She loves different things like that. So you can see by the side of this, from that side view, right, I have some work to do because it is still kind of bulbous looking for the side. And so that is why I am looking from all angles. You got to make sure that not just looking at the surface, because from the surface it don't look like ain't nothing wrong at all, but from the side, that's when you realize, oh, this might be a little bulkier than I intended. I use 80/80 grit files for my nail supply, black files. I really like these. Now keep in mind, I do have some on my Amazon storefront, some files in one of those lists where you can get some decent files. If you don't have anything else, or you just want to try some black grit files just to give it a try, definitely go ahead and grab them. They're pretty inexpensive. They definitely come like 25 or 50 to a pack. It's just that all black grit files are not made the same. So for me personally, I like to get them from my nail supply store, because I really like the sturdiness of these and the grit. Like, all grits feel differently, all files are made differently. But if you're wanting to try what does a black file possibly feel like, feel free to go ahead and grab you some. They definitely take away product a lot faster, and it's just quicker and making the whole filing portion smoother, quicker, faster, all of that. So you can see, like I said, I am focusing on the same areas as I always do on filing, but even so more down. It's like not quite all the way the back third of the nail. It's kind of more, well, actually it is. It's like kind of in the middle, but towards the back third of the nail, basically, because once again, I don't want to mess with what's in the actual cuticle area. It's this portion to where you guys saw where her natural nail is. It's like kind of almost smack in the middle of the nail, but based on where the acrylic is, it's right behind that portion. So this is what I'm really focusing on and working on. So of course I'm comparing as I go, and now we're on the thumb. And honestly, you know, it's kind of interesting because her thumbnails are skinnier than the rest. So a lot of times I use acrylic to kind of like make up for it just a little bit and fill in some sides, because like her thumbs are literally like a 2. So, which is always, I always found that interesting. I always used to think like, oh my gosh, am I doing something? But then I realized like, no, her thumbnails just grow skinny at the tips. So there's so many different shapes and sizes that people's nails can come in. Don't be alarmed. If you're really kind of nervous, ask them questions, you know, be like, hey, is Is this how your nails have always grown? Because at the end of the day, it's our job as a licensed nail tech to know the differences between damage, natural growth patterns, what things naturally look like for that client. I get a lot of comments in regards to some of the stuff on my page, and it's crazy because like I know my clients, I know the history behind them and what goes on, and you guys know your clients and the history behind them and what goes on. Every client is not the same, so the things that you may see on my page you may feel like you've seen before, but you know what, the history of your client and my client may be different, so it's not exactly the same. You see what I'm saying? It's tricky out here. Okay, so this is the final result after shaping. You can see how much more smoother and less bulbous they look. Really, I feel like I did a good job. The shape is on point, and of course, once again, here is the final look. I hope this helped you guys to learn to work with another different type of natural nail, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.